Welcome back to the program. Gosh, I wish I could talk about another subject other than these Somali sewer rats, but that seems to be what's out there right now. The scandal is growing each and every day. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, wider and wider and wider, more and more and more states. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you a lot about what's happening, but there's also some good news as well. But I have to say, Stephen Miller, one of my favorite people in the Trump administration, he really nails what the Democrats have done and continue to try to do. And we have to stop them at all costs, or we're going to lose the country, we're going to lose each individual state, and we are going to have no choice but to use other means to get our voices heard. I'll leave it at that. But this was Stephen Miller, I believe today, with Jesse Waters. He talks about the Somalification of America.
Are they engaged in all of this? What is their objective here? It's the Somalification of America. In other words, when you see the state of Somalia, that's what they want for America at the end of the day, because it's easier to rule over an empire of ashes than it is for the Democratic Party to rule over a functioning, Western, high-trust society with a strong middle class. Look how powerful the Democrat Party became in Minnesota once they flooded it with 100,000 Somalians. Once the elections were decided, right, by clan rivalries and ethnic feuds. Once that happened, the Democrat Party became permanently powerful in Minnesota. They became permanently powerful in the Twin Cities. That's their model for America, to make the whole country into a version of Somalia. And everything they do gets down to that. So when you ask me what I'm thankful for, this Thanksgiving, I praise God every day that Donald Trump is our president. And we've gone from 30% inflation, 20 million illegals, unlimited refugees.
Now, that was apparently right around Thanksgiving. So before Nick did his thing in Minnesota. So we were already starting to hear the rumblings of it. We've been talking about them for months and even for years at that matter. And so he was bringing that up then. I'm not sure why it just hit the news today, but whatever, it did. But he's right. The Somalification of America. And here's my thought. These people, they're on the travel ban. So if Somalia is on the travel ban, why the hell are they here? They're national security threats. Every single one of them. No one can sit here with a straight face and say that they give anything to this country. Nothing. All they do is take. And here's the other thing. They're not beholden to the United States of America. This was just where they could make an easy buck. This is where they could get rich and steal. Because that's what they are. They're cockroaches wearing hijabs. And I'll say it. I don't give a shit. Who hears it? So the bottom line is, none of these people can stay. None. I don't care about arrests. I don't want them to just be arrested. I want the entire community, and I'll say this publicly, all 260,000 of them in this country, to be forcefully removed from America and sent back to their third world shithole where they can hang out with the flies and the lions and whatever the hell else is going on out there. Okay? I'm done. And I think most Americans are done as well. Now, with that being said, we are now learning about this. I said Maine was another hotspot, did I not? Well, unfortunately, it certainly is. Listen to this.
The Medicaid fraud, the no-bid contract fraud, all of the taxpayer money flowing into these migrant services organizations is paid off on the other side through activism for Democrats during elections. Specifically,
so they steal your tax dollars by creating fake businesses. Then we're stupid enough as a government in the United States, and generous enough, I guess you could say, but also stupid enough, to then just stroke them a check. Oh, you have a daycare center? Here you go. Here's some money. Oh, you have a medical transport business? Here you go. Here's some money. Oh, you have, a home health care service business? Here you go. Here's some money. I mean, they're laughing at us. They are literally laughing at us stealing our money. And then, to add insult to injury, these scumbags turn around and they send their money to Democrat politicians. That's right. Look, if we ever got to the bottom of all the fraud in this country, the Democrat Party would absolutely disappear. Okay? I've been saying that for a long time, and it's interesting that golfer Phil Mickelson just said that yesterday or today. And he's right. He's absolutely right. They would just disappear because they cannot survive. The Democrat Party is a house of cards. They cannot survive unless they're stealing, they're robbing, they're pillaging, or they're murdering. That's it. They can't run on their policies, and so they have to import people that will believe their bullshit, vote for them in exchange for them looking the other way and getting a little bit more of this. That's what this is. It's a giant clusterfuck, and we're the victims of it. Unreal.
Gateway Community Services office in Lewiston, that became the nexus.
Lewiston, Maine, just like I said.
For the Community Organizing Alliance to go out and literally register migrants to vote and turn them out to vote on Election Day for Democrats in advance of the 2022 election. Governor Janet Mills' re-election effort, where she defeated former Republican Governor Paul LePage. Paul LePage losing, by the way, in Lewiston, once a Franco-American bastion, for the first time in his entire political career. We can see from the contracts that are still available on public state of Maine websites that these no-bid contracts were given to groups like Gateway Community Services, Presente, the New Mainer Health Initiative, all these nice-sounding left-wing organizations to create what were called community health outreach workers. CHOWs is what they called them. You didn't need it to be a nurse. You didn't need to be a doctor. You didn't need to have any credentials to be a community health outreach worker. All you needed to be was someone who could speak Lingala, Portuguese, Somali Bantu, a migrant who could go door to door and literally buy groceries for migrant households, sign them up for EBT cards, sign them up for general assistance, which is a form of municipal welfare reimbursed by the state of Maine, and sign them up for Maine Care. It says in the contract documents that we've published and we've reported on at length that they were empowered with federal COVID money provided from Joe Biden to buy groceries for these households. Now, under federal law, if you sign someone up for a benefits program like SNAP, also known as food stamps, or TANF, or Medicaid, which in Maine we call Maine Care, you're required to provide them assistance to register to vote. So what we have is a conglomeration, a blob of left-wing migrant services agencies with Medicaid money and no-bid contract money flowing into them, and they're in the same office as an explicitly political group fiscally sponsored by a 501c4 organization, the Maine People's Alliance, that are actively going out, registering migrants to vote, turning them out to vote on Election Day, and surprise, Governor Janet Mills wins re-election by historic margins, really runs up the numbers in Portland and Lewiston, the areas where the African diasporas happen to be the strongest, the areas where there's subsidized housing.
There it is in a nutshell. Just like I said, the Democrat Party is a terrorist organization. I've been saying that since at least 2017, I think. Maybe 18 is probably the first time I've uttered those words out of my mouth. But they never fail me because it's the truth. They are a terrorist organization. They are no different, as I've said in the past, than any of these other terrorist organizations out there that are on the terrorist watch lists. The Democrats are an internal terrorist organization. And if we're going to defeat the Democratic terrorist organization, we have to take away their ability to win elections. And if we can do that, that would entail removing and extracting these elements from our country by force, if necessary. We have to get rid of these people. We cannot be America, the beautiful, the rich, the prosperous, when we have people stealing from us and not doing anything but turning our country into a third world shithole. Okay? That's the bottom line, and I don't care who hears it. Okay? Send the death threats if you're a Somali sewer rat piece of garbage. Go ahead. Send the death threats to Bernstein. Josh Bernstein, the Josh Bernstein Show at gmail.com. I'll make sure and read them when I'm on the toilet. I'm not afraid of any of you. Okay? None of you. And I've had so many death threats. I I eat them like fucking breakfast sandwiches, okay? That's the reality. So anyway, moving on. Here's another one. Somali foreign minister whose Ohio healthcare company receives U.S. tax dollars, of course, right? Where else would they get their money from? Also controls a limited liability company at the same exact address as a Somali money transfer business that is transferring money to Al-Shabaab. That's right. Unbelievable. The terror network of the Democrat Party never ends. New report alleges that Somali's foreign minister Abda, whatever the fuck his name is, a U.S. citizen whose Ohio-based healthcare company has raked in millions of dollars from American taxpayers, also controls an LLC operating out of the same address as a Somali money transfer business previously accused of funneling funds to Al-Shabaab's terrorist organization. Ali, I'll just shorten his name, was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Somalia in May of 2025. Unreal. Born, of course, in Somalia, building a life in the United States, Ali established Right Choice Healthcare Services. Oh, gee, another home healthcare services business. Probably 30 or 40 of them in the same building with the same address, right? With no doctors and no patients. Yeah, we got it. Toledo, Ohio this time, over a decade ago. Shockingly, 2 additional healthcare companies operate out of the same office suite. Oh, what a shocker that is. These operations have reportedly received millions upon millions of dollars in funding from U.S. government programs like Medicaid and Medicare, which reimburse providers for caring for low-income patients. You know, the ones that don't exist? Yeah, them. But the plot then thickens with Ali's business partner Abdul Suri, who was listed as president of Right Choice Healthcare Services, according to Libs of TikTok. Good job, you guys. And then it says, Dahab, I can't pronounce the person's name, headquartered in Dubai, but with its U.S. corporate head office located in Ohio, has long been a lifeline for Somali immigrants sending remittances straight back home. However, the firm has faced repeated accusations of terrorism financing. Unbelievable. Lawsuits dating back to 2015 show that this person provided material support to Al-Shabaab, the Somali-based Al-Qaeda affiliate designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the United States Department. You know, here's the other thing. If we know that they're funding these terrorists and these terrorist organizations, then all of them should be able to be denaturalized and removed and extracted from the country. There is literally no reason why one Somalian sewer rat should be in our land. Not one. Okay? Not even one. I don't care about little babies. I don't care about children, women, whatever, little girls. Get rid of every single one of them. Okay? Every single one of them. Let's shut them down. Get them out of the country. 100%. One high-profile case involved Harbi Hussein, the son of the iconic Somali activist, whatever, Siado Ali Warsam, who was assassinated by Al-Shabaab in 2014, claiming that he was aiding the terrorists responsible for his father's death, though the suit was ultimately dismissed by a U.S. appeals court in 2017 for lack of sufficient evidence. Dutch and Kenyan authorities have also scrutinized the company with temporary suspensions of services in 2015 amid their terrorist probes. However, Ali has consistently denied any wrongdoing and won exonerations in several jurisdictions. Yeah, it's like our court system is so stupid. Are you a terrorist? No. Okay. Case dismissed. Next one. What's that? Oh, you're a MAGA supporter? Go to jail. 30 years, 40 years. So tired of this shit. So tired of it. Unbelievable. And there was also, of course, this one too. Somali's UN ambassador, who previously oversaw adult Medicaid, also served as CEO at a company placed on the federal fraud exclusion list and banned from receiving Medicaid funds. While Ohio taxpayers are being told to accept daycare fraud as merely, quote, the cost of doing business, this is that scumbag rhino in Ohio, Mike DeWine. Terrible senator, absolutely terrible senator, and even worse, governor. Ohio is bright red for the most part in most areas of that state, and Trump has won it. Ohio, get rid of Mike DeWine. Get rid of Mike DeWine. He is terrible. He literally said, we're not going to look into the fraud from the governor's perspective. Well, I don't know. Maybe the attorney general will. Okay? Maybe others will look into it. Maybe when Vivek becomes governor, obviously he'll look into it and change the state to be better. But anyway, so here's what it says. Rhino, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's office brushed off mounting concerns over potential large-scale fraud in taxpayer-funded daycare centers due to the Somalis in Columbus, Ohio, the second largest Somali population in the U.S., as merely, quote, the cost of doing business, even after two independent journalists uncovered disturbing evidence of potential ghost daycare operations operating right now in Columbus, Ohio. Speaking to the Columbus Dispatch, DeWine spokesman Dan Tierney openly acknowledged that daycare fraud has been known in the state for decades, suggesting that outrage from taxpayers is simply the product of being naive. Well, why didn't you do anything about it decades ago? You know, it's like telling a child, go ahead and brush your teeth. No, I don't want to brush my teeth. I'm telling you, go brush your teeth. You'll be thanking me later. Then all of a sudden, they're 20, 30 years old and they're missing their teeth. And you go, I told you should have brushed your teeth. Why let it escalate? Why let it get out of control? You should have stopped it a decade ago when you knew about it. But no, you looked the other way. Well, were you getting money? Were they financing you somehow? Probably. If people out there who could not contemplate that people were trying to defraud the public through daycare centers, I understand this is new to them, but it's been known to the state for decades, he said. So therefore, we have robust anti-fraud measures to try and stop it, but we unfortunately look at it as the cost of doing business. This is what is wrong with these scumbag rhino Republican assholes, okay? Because they don't take the approach as no fraud is too much, right? We cannot have any fraud. But they instead say, well, you know, a little bit of fraud here and there. I get a couple of kickbacks, you know, I'll look the other way. No, because it escalates, it gets out of control. And you feed the beast. So when you feed the beast gets bigger. And then the beast grows bigger. And then the beast goes to Maine and goes to Ohio and goes to Washington State. And the next thing you know, these Somali sewer rats are calling their buddies Bobo and Gubu and saying, hey, come on into the United States. There's plenty of fraud and money for you too. I am fucking sick of this. Sick of it. I'm telling you, we better take care of this, and we better take care of this in a very harsh manner. Bombshell report now reveals that Somalia's sitting ambassador to the United Nations once worked inside Ohio's Medicare and Medicaid bureaucracy, later ran or represented a healthcare company reportedly placed on a federal fraud exclusion list. Abukar, whatever the fuck, Osman, often referred to by his nickname Bali, currently serves as Somalia's permanent representative to the United Nations, a post that he has held since 2017. As of this month, Osman holds one of the most powerful rotating positions in global diplomacy, president of the UN Security Council. Imagine that. You've got one of these Somali sewer rats in a rotating situation, so not forever, but for now, is now the head of the Security Council for the United Nations. This is why the United Nations should have shut down decades ago. I mean, it's like everywhere you turn around, it's like, scratch this, fraud. Scratch that, fraud. Scratch that over there, fraud. Everywhere. It's literally everywhere. Anything, just like Trump said, the Midas touch, they have the shit touch. Anything they touch turns to shit. Anything. And this is why Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, patriots, whatever, I don't care what you think about Pam Bondi and Cash Patel. I don't give a shit what you think about the Epstein files. You get off your fucking asses and you go out there in huge numbers in 2026 and you vote for Republicans. Down fucking ticket. Because if these Democrats win, this is going to be just an absolute you know what. It's the Somalification. This is what they want to do. They want to erase us just like they're doing in Europe. And they want to erase us here. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. Now, here's some good news. With all the bad, here's some good news, okay? The Trump administration, through the Small Business Administration, is now suspending 7,000 Minnesota borrowers that were suspected of PPP and other types of fraud. So this is coming from Kelly Loeffler, which she said, the suspected Minnesota fraudsters that SBA suspended yesterday took out nearly 8,000 loans totaling $400 million during the pandemic. Look, I said when they closed down the government, I said, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. And then they started giving all that money and the PPP loans and everything else. I said, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? They're going to steal. It's going to be fraud. You watch. And sure enough, it has been a lot of it. $400 million during the plandemic, let's call it what it really was. It's why we're investigating every socialist welfare state where criminal networks thrive at the expense of law-abiding job creators and taxpayers. Here's what she had to say.
Out of $1.2 trillion that went out through SBA funds during COVID. Now remember, these COVID-era loans helped millions of small businesses keep millions of employees on their payroll. Most were legitimate. But the fact is we had organized crime operating around these, like we see with the Somali crime ring in Minnesota. And so we have gone back through loans that the Biden administration tried to forgive that were known to be fraudulent. That's why we already had...
Remember that? The auto pen said, we're going to give you money, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Don't worry about repaying it back. Don't worry. We'll just let, our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren pay it back in the year 3000, whatever, right? They don't care. They're scumbags. Anyone, you want to solve the problems in America? I could solve it just like that. With no notice at all, so they can't change their registration. Just literally denaturalize and deport every single registered Democrat. Done. Problem solved. Countries saved.
13,000 that we knew had been marked as fraudulent. We're able to find quickly 8,000 of those and make sure that they cannot benefit from our services. But now, as I mentioned, we're going to do that state by state. We're going to make sure now that we...
Now that I like to hear. Not just Minnesota. They're going to go state by state by state looking for fraud now. See, look, like I said before, when they did this, right? When they did the Schumer shutdown and the sombrero shutdown, whatever you want to call it, that was their fatal mistake because it opened up Pandora's box to, first and foremost, all of the SNAP fraud, right? 42% of SNAP is all fraudulent. So they were able to see that. Then from there, it said, oh, well, let's look over here now. And then we find the Minnesota fraud. And now it's blowing up all over the place. And so now they're going back and they're going, well, what else are we going to find when we look even further back? So, yeah, they thought they were stopping the Trump administration by shutting the government down. Well, we'll just shut the government down. We'll blame it on Republicans. And as long as the government's not working, then President Trump can't implement his agenda and his policies anymore, right? This is how stupid they are. Not realizing the billions, probably, who knows, maybe even trillions, if you go back 30, 40 years, trillions of dollars in fraud that the Democrat Party has literally survived on. They are like cockroaches and cancer. That's what they are. And when you have cockroaches, you step on them, you raid them, you get rid of them. And when you have cancer, you have an operation that hopefully can get rid of it. Well, we have to extract that from this country. And the best way to do that I mean, I would love to do this. Denaturalize and deport every single registered Democrat in the country. This America would be amazing if we did that. But of course, no one's going to do that. So what's the next best thing? Get rid of all of the functions of government that can be used for fraud that will help them stay in power. And of course, a lot of that has to do with what? Redoing the census now. Right now. They should be working on it right now, and they should have the census ready before the midterms, and making sure that no one that is not here as a legal citizen is allowed to vote. Period. End of story.
We understand the breadth and the depth and the method of these crimes, that we hold more states accountable, and so we are making that commitment.
Well, we'll see about that. I hope that is indeed going to be the case. But look, the fraud is everywhere. Nick Shirley has already come out and said he's got another video coming that's going to even blow away the next one. So all I can say is keep focused and tell anyone and everyone you know about all this stuff. Because look, there's so many people. I mean, I was just out at a Costco and was wearing my shirt. And the lady was like, "Oh, that's a terrible shirt." And I said, "Really?" I said, "So you're okay with the Somalian fraud?" And she goes, "What fraud?" People don't know. People don't pay attention on a daily basis like we do, okay? I had to show it to her. And even then, she's like, "Well, I'm sure there's, something having to do with Trump." I mean, these people are fucking brain dead, okay? They're brain dead. And so why should we have brain dead, corrupt scumbags that we have to live with? Why not just send them to another country? You want to be with the Somalians? Go back to Somalia. Take the Democrats with you. Okay? I'm tired of it. And I know all you are as well. But 2026, still going to be an amazing year. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.